Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Joe Loves Movies podcast, kind of a spin-off of the Merlin cast, where I've kind of been going through and doing some video retrospectives on some of my favorite movies, but since I feel like I can't get to a scripted, edited review of everything, sometimes movies that maybe wouldn't make the top cut, but other films that I might kind of enjoy, I just want to do some kind of laid-back podcasts about. And for those, I figure I'd like to try and get some other people that might like those movies even more than I do to kind of
Gimli.
like my guest today, Gimli. Haven't been on a podcast in a while.
Yeah, quite a while.
Although before recording this, we did a lot of stuff.
A lot of recording.
We did a lot of stuff for Drinkable Alchemy and also a certain series review, which I'll keep secret. But you'll know what we're talking about because I'll put that up before then. But I wanted to combine.
What,
It depends on the upload time. We'll see. But I wanted to put two movies together that we watched recently for
a drinking double feature game.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that because I know that there are a couple movies we listed that I wanted to talk about on the channel that were some of your favorites, and two of them were Kevin Costner, big, epic, mid-90s kind of box office bombs. You've got Waterworld and The Postman.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting because I know that those movies kind of have people that like them, kind of a cult status. I remembered enjoying them. But they didn't do very well when it came out, and I guess they had sort of reputation, especially Waterworld, of being like these big failures. So really, I just want to kind of openly talk about them. I guess we can start with Waterworld because I know that's like the biggest thing. So why is Waterworld a movie that you enjoyed and like to view?
Post-apocalyptic.
Sure.
Like, who doesn't like a good post-apocalyptic movie, really?
Absolutely.
But it was a nice spin. It's a nice spin-off with the traditional, like, nuclear wasteland and all that.
Mm-hmm.
This one's just polar ice caps melted, and it's now Earth is just a water world.
So Al Gore was right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I remember somebody that we were watching it with said that it was basically Mad Max, but on the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Pretty much.
I remember watching it and thinking that the coolest thing about Waterworld, watching it again, was definitely like all the elaborate sets and just the different special effects they tried to do. Because
it's filmed pretty much all on water.
Yeah, that's I think the thing that's the biggest about it was sort of like this big experiment where they tried to film most of it on water, but I think that's one reason why they went so over budget because they kept running into so many issues like bad weather, and all that. And I guess like literally having to ship things, sunscreen, and I think literally having to ship supplies out. Like if there was a problem, like a medical issue, you couldn't quickly resolve it. You got to get them back to the mainland. So it's like it wasn't very practical to shoot it in the ocean, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I think I liked the bad guy too. The deacon. Dennis Hopper was pretty fun. He was like pretty, I guess, pretty iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eye patch for what, half the time that you saw him. Mm-hmm. It's sort of, and just the voice is just really good.
Well, Dennis Hopper just has like a great villainous voice in general. Such an iconic thing. You know, I always liked that voice as well. How do you feel about I don't know if the girl's character's name, basically the one that knows where the mainland is. She's the plot device with the map.
Oh, the one with the map on the back.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, well, I guess we have the cast in front. We got some notes in case you don't remember. Is it Tina?
I think it's Eleanor.
Eleanor?
Yeah.
It looks like Enola.
Yeah.
Enola. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is it. Wow, she's grown up there.
Oh yeah. It was filmed in '95.
Correct.
So.
Wow. Just like she's still acting. But yeah, I guess Enola was the young girl. How'd you feel about her?
She was a little kid who got into trouble a lot.
What about Jean Triplehorn, the love interest? I guess they called her Helen.
She was all right and trying to take care of the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it? I don't know. Was it established whether or not she was sister or?
I thought. I thought she was a caretaker, but I'll admit I don't remember exactly. I thought she might have been a big sister. Let's see. Let's cheat. Let's see. Well, girl and okay. Oh, just her guardian. It says. So not really an older sister.
I don't really even know.
No.
She was all right.
She was all right. Well, I think. Well, okay. I think everybody's favorite character is the guy in the ship, like in the bowels of the Deacon ship. Everybody likes his little cameo.
The
guy running the oil.
The guy in the very bottom measuring the amount of oil left.
That's his job.
And he's like, finally.
When he gets killed, like it's this great moment of dark, and we're like, oh, thank you.
Yes.
I think that's always been my favorite part of the movie. Is just that little humor there. I think we'll talk about this a bit with the Postman too, which I think is maybe the more interesting movie to talk about. But okay. I think one of the biggest issues that people probably have with these movies was really Kevin Costner as an action star. So I like Kevin Costner. I think he's a decent actor. He's been in some good movies. But I'll admit, his experience as an action star has been very hit or miss. And I know these are kind of like infamous. And I'm wondering, do you think it was him? Was it the character? Because I like the whole mutant, like fish sort of thing. As the Mariner, as he's called.
I think he did all right.
All right. Guess I thought he was playing it like stoic, kind of quiet, man of few words, sort of.
I think that since he knew that he was sort of an outsider or mutant, and he didn't really want to be noticed, I think he played his character very well.
Okay.
In that regard.
So you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, why do you think people dislike Waterworld so much? Or at least they did at the time. I don't know.
I think it was maybe a little too slow for them.
There are some long
there's
scenes.
Some long scenes.
The ocean, just sailing, waiting for dry land.
So I think that probably played a little bit into it.
The length and the pacing. Okay.
And probably just like the weird humor too.
Okay.
I don't think people quite got.
Okay, gotcha. I think that. What is it about it? Okay, so you said post-apocalyptic. You kind of like the sort of environment of it. Is there anything else about Waterworld that really stands out to you? Something that you like? You're like, oh, this is one of my favorite movies. Beyond just the uniqueness of that scenario, because it is pretty unique.
I really like the sets, like the props and all that. Like
how do you feel about his boat?
The boat's cool. And then just, with the props and all that, it's all real.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that movie's like mostly practical.
Yeah.
Which is probably another reason it was so expensive and hard to deal with. I do remember the one scene was like that CGI fish pops out. But for $95, that actually...
It's not bad.
Weird sea creature. I believed it. I was like, oh, that's creepy. Oh, you remind me, though. There's one scene, I think, that sells how kind of dark the atmosphere is. And the situation is remember when they run into that other guy? He's like a pirate or something. He like tries to like basically rape the two women.
Yeah.
Like that was very intense. He just like bludgeons the guy or something.
Yeah.
That was pretty intense. I forgot about that scene.
Or the was it the lime plant or lemon?
Yeah. Oh yeah, when the plant gets destroyed, he like spends a lot of time establishing he cares about the plant, and then when it gets destroyed, it's like no, this is plants are so rare because of soil being so limited.
Yeah.
And also, man, I remembered thinking of something. And
how do you feel about him being able to swim all the way down to the surface?
With the lack of water pressure.
Yeah.
I kind of attribute that to him almost having like superhuman powers because he is a mutant, so he's kind of like Aquaman or the Submariner. Oh, that was my other question. I remember somebody was kind of making a comment about it when we were watching it, but I guess people are going to be kind of fearful of these mutant creatures that adapt to live in water. But do you think that's kind of strange in a way that like they're so useful? Somebody like the Mariner. So I was always kind of odd that there would be fear when they're like
that fear and hate.
but they would be able to help you survive more. So it just kind of shows the idiocy of that, I think. I don't know if that's bad writing or that's just intentional.
No, I think that
themes.
was intentional.
Like people weren't realizing it.
Yeah.
Also, a simple, cool, practical effect is the gills behind the ears and like the webbed feet. Simple, but you get it, you know. And I like that. It's one of the little bits of makeup and whatnot that I enjoyed. So, yeah, that's something about Waterworld that stuck out to me as well. Score was also really good. Like the drums, I remember the do-do-do-do. Like there, a lot of tribal stuff was good. Also, when they get to dry land at the end, it's a very awesome feeling. I think it's like an air. Did they get like a balloon or something? Was it like an airship or thing?
Yeah, airship. The Helen's and Eleanor's like other person there. He was sort of like a scientist.
Yeah, he was like the comic relief kooky guy.
Yeah, the scientist, crazy scientist.
You ever see the Road Warrior, Mad Max 2?
Yeah.
Remember there was that guy who was kind of like ridiculous. He had like the helicopter thing.
Yeah.
That reminds me a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which definitely makes sense. But yeah, when they finally get to dry land, it is pretty cool. I also liked that scene when he went under deep into the, I think to show like where land was New York or something.
Yeah.
And I think I couldn't tell if it was CGI or like early models or paintings or something, but I thought that effect was cool, honestly. Oh yeah, the sub was cool, yeah. So yeah, there's like for me, Waterworld's a movie that I don't know if I'd ever really say I loved it as much as you do, but I never got the hate. Yeah. Like when I heard that like this movie was like big bomb and a lot of people disliked it, like I could see maybe it's got some pacing issues, but I think it's fun and there's a lot of great set pieces and really it's pretty impressive for the special effects and stuff too. It creates a very unique world and I think that I remember we were talking about it when we were watching it, but there's like I think with Waterworld there's a lot of potential to do something else. Like I could see them doing like a TV show or something.
Well, they did make a video game, right?
Yeah, I see that here. I heard about the Waterworld video game.
And then they did want to make a sequel at one point.
Let's see. There's a theme park attraction. Let me see here. The video game, the NES, Virtual Boy PC. That's cool.
Looks like they wanted to do some comics in there too.
Oh, I believe it. Other media. Let's see. Novelization. You have comic books. Yeah. So there was other stuff.
It looks like there was a book.
Okay, novelization.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious too because I see some of the awards. It did get nominated for Best Sound. Saturn Awards actually Best Science Fiction Film. They liked it. Best Costumes. I like Saturn Awards. They're cool. Best Visual Effects nomination for that the BAFTA. And then there's some Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actor for Dennis Hopper. These are all the Golden Raspberries. I think that's a little harsh. I don't think the direction was that bad. I think Dennis Hopper was great. I think Costner was a bit stiff, but
he did win that one. Worst Supporting Actor.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
But he was intentionally over the top.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if I agree with that. See, no. I don't agree with that. That doesn't really fit. So, but the Raspberries are also like they kind of pick the most obvious things. Like sometimes they aren't the worst performances, just the ones people are talking about. Yeah. But I feel like that was a cheap shot. But no, I feel like it's definitely got kind of a cult status for sure since then. Yeah. But it also, you know what is kind of cool about Waterworld though? I think it definitely was like a word of mouth thing because they're saying how like it didn't do that well in theaters, but it did kind of do better when it got to video. So, and I remember watching it when I was younger and liking it. So I was like, and I still do. I still think Waterworld is fine. I really do. I think there's a lot of cool stuff there for sure. I think Waterworld is definitely worth seeing, if nothing else, for like all the effects and stuff. Yeah. It's really cool. Was there anything else you'd like to say about Waterworld?
Recycling.
Environmental message.
No, do you remember what they did with the dead bodies?
Oh, yeah, it's Soylent Green. They turn people and don't they drain the water from them or something?
They just put them in a green goo.
Oh, yeah, the green goo. Yeah, I mean like it's it's algae or something.
Bodily waste, everything.
They make
fertilizer.
Every like organic thing we can find to make fuel is
into soil.
And that's another thing, a little detail about Waterworld too. Just thinking about that, it reminds me, especially when the mariner is going to that first outpost, or when you go onto the Deacon's ship, like everything is grimy, it's dirty, there's oil everywhere, there's like stuff growing like the algae. It's a dirty, cramped little place wherever they are. It really does look like the set, these makeshift things people put together with wood and metal, and it's
whatever they could.
Very limited resources thrown together, and even with that, it's just, you can tell these pools of recycled stuff is just, look. It makes the Dune stuff where they literally squeeze the water out of people seem tame by comparison. So that's a good little world building thing for sure. For visuals, it's just like, Waterworld's a grimy looking dystopia, post apocalyptic. But that's definitely a good one. Now, I think the real winner is definitely the second film for our double, which was The Postman. You see, now The Postman's a talker. Because this was another one, also got nominated by the Saturn Awards, that people didn't like that much when it came out. It didn't do that well, but I remember liking it, and I know other people like it. I've actually met other people who have it, and I thought it was actually I
thought it was very good.
Cool concept. Yeah, I know it's pretty good. I want to say I think the biggest issue with this is kind of like Waterworld, where I think it's a length thing.
I thought it was at the very end.
You think so?
I thought it was the epilogue that
got people?
That I didn't like.
Okay, tell me about that. Skipping ahead a little bit.
Basically, it just sort of jumped back into modern times.
Oh, yeah, like it skips ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, it's with his daughter, and it's like, oh yeah, and the legend. Oh yeah, we also never learn his name. He's just the postman.
Like, it makes me kind of think that it was all just sort of like a dream.
Like one of those things. It's all just some story that was made up. Well, I guess the Postman's also kind of a big Kevin Costner post-apocalyptic thing. But this one, for some reason, of course, society collapsed, and there really aren't anybody governed anymore. People are just kind of roaming bandits.
I guess it's sort of...
City-states.
They mention, like... It was basically about fossil fuels disappearing and nations fighting over it, and eventually a giant world war.
Mad Max again.
Yeah.
There's no resources. Yeah. Okay.
And so DC fell, and U.S. government fell apart, and it's about this guy who just is a traveling man.
He's actually an actor, I believe.
He's an actor, and all he wants to do is survive in this post-apocalyptic wasteland.
With his mule Bill, right?
Yeah, with his mule Bill. And,
just trying to make it
through.
Make something to eat. He does like little one-act plays of Hamlet and Macbeth and stuff, entertain people at these little towns. It's, kind of like a gritty Western. And but there's this roaming band of this army, basically.
I wouldn't even say they're roaming. They're more of like a...
Yes, they're an established army.
Yeah. They're sort of like a... What comes to mind is like Genghis Khan.
Yeah, because they have a base of operations.
And on top of that, it's all horseback.
They're on horseback. So they got this cavalry. Just this guy started an army with what was left over. And he's kind of the guy in charge of this region. He comes and takes tribute, and he takes people in to the recruit to his army. And I think we'll get into one reason why I think there's an issue with the movie that people have. I think it's a tonal thing. But my favorite part of the movie was actually the beginning.
Yeah.
Like that first part when Kevin Costner's character, the wandering guy, gets abducted by this organization and is kind of like conscripted.
And sort of has to escape.
And he has to escape, and you learn how this really is a disciplined, kind of evil, neo-fascist sort of thing going on, where it's all about kind of genetic purity, and they're very cruel. Like, you become an efficient soldier, you can stick with it, but if you disobey or you fail, you can get killed very easily.
You're just dead.
I loved the conditioning of movies as like a treat, where he wants to condition with war stuff, but they all like, what was it, Sound of Music or something?
Yeah, Sound of Music was like
the thing
go-to.
Like this innocent thing that made them all happy. So I thought using movies to influence people's emotions was kind of cool, based on the reels they had. I liked the remnants of that. But him trying to escape, it's really intense because there are these two characters that he's with. One guy is Giovanni Ribisi, who's like this. He's really the weakest of the pack.
Yeah.
You think they're going to kill him, but oddly enough, he gets so frightened that he wants to be accepted into the army.
Which I think is because he wasn't well liked to begin with, and this sort of gives him an outlet of trying to become something. Which
is ironic because he was literally at the bottom of the pecking order.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was very sad. And he, I guess when Kevin Costner escapes, he volunteers to go after him. And there's also this character who's a black guy, which was kind of weird that he was invited in. Did he ever explain why he let him in? Because I thought he was so clearly the other guy thought why'd you let him in here? But I never got that. It said that was acceptable because he wasn't super dark skinned or something.
I guess because with this roaming band of army, they only took in certain people, and I think they only had a certain amount of people that they took, but it was always the strongest and fittest of the people whenever they took them, and I think it just has so happened that he was one of them.
Fit.
Yeah. Muscular and all that.
And they were like, well, we can't afford to be too picky maybe in this situation. Okay. But basically those two guys go after him.
And the one guy, the black guy, I guess starting out and in the town, he couldn't read or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's literally just a small little town where they just grow.
And they don't really have established schools or anything anymore.
It's
not
just
that many
all
books teaching.
Little word of mouth teaching.
It's literally pre-medieval level of technology, pretty much, except for the people that have guns, and they're the ones on top. Yeah. No power or anything.
No. Well, they had power
in the one town. They do.
They do. They have power in some.
Some of them can turn on lights and stuff, but it's very primitive.
Yeah. So. I guess it was because the Postman, or Kevin Costner, could actually knew some lines and stuff from Shakespeare that sort of inspired him to try to escape.
That's true, and that was actually the thing the general guy kind of liked about him was that he knew some Shakespeare. So he's like, okay,
that he was educated,
and he appreciated that, and it's almost like he felt kind of a kinship with him, which there's a good line they talk about later about what the post-apocalypse kind of made people, because you think he's must have been some ex-commando or something, but he was just like a
delivery man,
sold copying machines or something. It was just, I thought that was an interesting line about what the situation can bring out in you, the best or worst.
Yeah.
But Kevin Costner escapes and ends up in this other town, right?
Yeah.
Which is where it started to lose some people.
Yeah,
I noticed.
It's sort of.
How would we describe this? It's okay. People know.
he was good at acting.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm forgetting a crucial part.
He disguised himself very well as a former
postal carrier. Because he finds an old mail
truck and
the guy's uniform.
Mail, and he's like, well, it's better than what I got on now, and I'm cold, so yeah.
And then he gets to the town, and he just to try and get food and everything,
trying to survive.
They establish he's an actor, and he's like, well,
well, he doesn't even.
Well, he doesn't say that, but he uses what we saw in the film. Okay, like you said, he's an actor, so he becomes this postman, and
tries to con people,
spin this tale of, oh yeah, the government's back, and here's your letter from your wife 10 years ago. We're getting slow.
It's 16 years or something.
But they're like, wow, okay, so we're backed up, and we're trying to get started again, and and we have to remember some other plot points. I know there's the whole love interest thing, but I personally think that it could be argued, and I want to hear from you on this. It could be argued that this element is the best and potentially worst part of the movie for people. I think this is where it makes or breaks it for people. Because I'll tell you, but hold on, I want to hear why you love it. But this is the thing for me. I think that, how the first part of the movie was kind of serious and dark?
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes to like this old school idealized American idea where it's literally like we believe in the postal service and I believe the idea of communication brings us together, and they make the postman this legendary hero. I think that's fun. Yeah, but it is kind of silly, very corny, and it kind of clashes a little bit with the first part.
Yeah.
But I get what they're going for, and I like it. I think it's kind of cute. But how do you feel about it? I think that's what you like about it.
I do. I find it a little corny like that. Yeah, I like the corniness of that part.
Okay.
I also just came up with this random question for you.
Oh, great.
Would this be considered a Western?
Well, according to Wikipedia and I guess other things, it is considered like a, I think like a neo. I think it has been considered a Western because it takes place, I think, mostly in the West, and it's got like. It's literally people wandering around in the desert. You've got gunfights. You've got people in like little shanty towns. There's bars. He's like almost like a folk gunslinger hero. It's kind of a Western. Yeah, I think it's not something you automatically think of, but it is.
Yeah.
It got the exploration, the horseback stuff, a lot of the tropes. Absolutely. Americana.
Yeah.
It is. We should have had a cowboy hat. It would be perfect. Yeah.
So... Man, after the whole corniness, you get the love interest.
Yeah.
That was sort of hit and miss. Like, you don't really need...
You didn't need it.
Like...
It's kind of awkward, too, because she wants him to get her pregnant because her husband can't do it.
Right.
Right. And that's really all it is.
Yeah.
But then, through happenstance... He ends up getting stuck with her because didn't we find out later the husband was apparently beating her or something?
Yeah,
and I'm like, I thought there was
I didn't think that was needed at all.
No, because like we everything that we saw in the performance saw he was a nice guy.
Yeah,
and this one line makes it feel like wow, so we don't need to care about this guy. It was very weird, very weird. I don't know why they did that. It was very odd. That bothered me. I was like, wait, so this is the guy that we. They made this whole thing where he gets killed. We care about him, and they're like, "Oh wait, I guess he was an asshole." I don't understand.
Men skipping over all that. Let's see. He
kind of forms
a postal service
of like kind of like the
of just trying to survive because he just wants food,
and he kind of like builds it up and doesn't want to let people down, and so all these people believe him, and then people start riding on horses and actually start a postal service among the people that need it. So and it sounds silly, but that's actually the coolest idea in the movie for me is that I love how it's kind of based on a lie, but the idea of something brings people together, and through the lie kind of becomes a truth. They do rebuild their society by thinking they already have. Yeah. And it's kind of, I think it's kind of awesome. Yeah. It's a little silly, but
it's very corny, but it works.
I thought it was fine.
How just one lie to survive turns into this
big elaborate thing. Yeah, it's great. He believes himself, like fine, and he eventually doesn't that kind of bring in odds with the bad guy again?
Yes, because the bad people, or I think they're called the Eights or something.
Oh yeah, because they got the rule of eights. In fact, let's scroll down here. What do they call them?
Let's go into more of that.
The neo-fascist militia. I think it is the Eights. I don't know if they have them listed, unfortunately, but I know you're right. I think they were the Eights. The rule of eights.
Let's see. Did I go down some?
Okay. The figure eight. So I think you're right. I think they are the Eights. Yeah.
So
some of the rules weren't really rules, by
the way. They were kind of sketchy
about like, is this really a rule or just remember a couple that were just random sayings like clearly you're just listening to what this guy said or you'll get murdered.
And so this group, the Eights or whatnot, they sort of have a problem with this because they like all these little places not being able to communicate with each other.
They could keep them broken up and they can just force them to get tribute. Right. It's a threat to their authority.
Yeah. And so this group starts killing off all these postal carriers and all that. And eventually, it's a mess. It really is. It gets a little confusing, and eventually they have to fight.
Yeah, they start fighting.
They start just open war.
Shootouts. Basically, yeah. This new government of the U.S. fights against the AIDS army. Yeah. It's a war going on.
Basically.
A lot of skirmishes, yeah.
And then fast forward some, and Kevin Costner and love interest decide to just escape. Like, they've had enough. And so...
Doesn't she find out at some point that he's actually full of it? He's not really the postman?
Yeah.
That happens at some point in there.
Yeah, so... He'd been shot, and they spend the winter at a cabin. She finds out
where she hates him. That was a weird. That was the best love story ever. That's my least favorite part of the movie. It's like, that's the love story.
She's probably my favorite person in the whole movie.
What?
Because
she's horrible. What are you talking about?
Hear me out.
Okay.
Because
I hate her.
She doesn't. Stand up to his BS.
That's true. She sees right through him. You're right.
Like, she burns down the cabin just to leave.
Well, that was kind of funny. Like, we're not doing this.
Like, if you want to eat, you got to stand up and get it.
That's true when he gets injured. That's true. So she's tough. You like that she won't take his BS. Okay. I guess you're right. I just remember feeling like she was a bee the whole time, you know?
Yes, but
it's understandable. It's understandable. Yeah. You're right. Okay, maybe I'm being too hard on her. Okay.
So
fine.
Eventually, they decide to just disband and all that. And the one guy who first signed up and all that,
we got to talk about this guy, Ford Lincoln Mercury,
because he lived at a car dealership.
What a great post-apocalyptic name. It's something out of Fallout or something. Like I'm Ford Lincoln. I could totally see it.
Yeah, because, okay, I'll go with it.
I just wish more people had names like that. Like, I think he's the only guy in the movie with that sort of moniker.
No, there's Captain Idaho too.
Okay, and also the sheriff we noticed was pretty cool. Yeah, that also knew that he was full of it initially. In the town.
Yeah, though eventually he sort of came over and was like, okay,
we need this.
Yeah, you're actually doing some good and whatnot. But you still are iffy. I don't like you still, but
I appreciate
you're all right.
It's very mixed messages.
Yeah. So Ford Lincoln Mercury gets captured.
Oh yeah.
And this is probably one of my favorite parts in the movie.
Okay.
Because he gets captured, and then another postal carrier gets captured.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not together. But they're from a completely different area.
But they're, like, ready to die together, right? Like, hey, they have, like, conversions. Like, where are you from? Okay, this is my number. Nice to meet you. We're glad to know you. And they're, like, about ready to just, like... And that camaraderie. Yeah. And the general's like...
What?
You guys don't know each other either. And he's like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
The devotion of this cause is I gotta crush this.
Yeah.
This is bad.
And he's like, this will never end. So, eventually...
There's some good lines in this movie.
Yeah. There are. They're few and far between. But
there's a lot of corny ones, but there's some iconic stuff. I agree.
And, let's see. After that, there's basically the big battle. That's not really even a big battle.
That's the other thing I always remember the most about this movie, and I bet you, it's actually one of the coolest things, I think, but it is very subversive. It's very anticlimactic for how big movies work. So please explain.
So you have these two giant horse armies. They come charging in and then stop. And basically you have the main villain and Kevin Costner ride out and meet each other, and then they fight each other. And
literally wrestle and punch each other. It's not glorious at all.
Really bad slow motion.
There's a lot of that, yeah.
And
it's not
Kevin
fancy.
Costner wins, and that's pretty much the end of the fight.
Yeah, I think right before that he was like, wouldn't it be great if like the guys that start the war could stop it before anybody else gets killed?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I guess so. So because it was part of the rule of the 8th, he established, and he could challenge it because he had the markings, so he was the brand, so he could still technically do that.
Yeah.
So that's how that rule came back.
Yeah.
So that's how they could, which I always thought, even though it was a little cheesy how it was handled, is a pretty cool concept, right? Like this war. The war doesn't have to happen because these two guys can sort of settle their differences mano a mano.
Yeah.
Which seems very Western too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Though a big cavalry fight would also be really...
to be honest, I would have kind of liked to have seen that too. Maybe they could have... So it's like they could have done the traditional thing and it would have been great too.
Or... if they had it where both sides fought for a little while... Then the two guys met. He challenged him.
Like a stalemate or something.
Yeah.
Like before anybody else dies, let's end it this way.
Well, no, not even that. Have the two armies fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then somehow the villain and the postman meet somehow, and he challenges him.
Oh, man.
Just like that. And
that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe more sword fights and gunfights and less wrestling on the ground with slow-mo?
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe keep that all in there.
Maybe
that's
keep that in there.
Here's an interesting...
I just want the cavalry fight.
So it sounds to me like you have mixed feelings about it.
Yes.
Because I would argue, and this is one of the interesting things retrospectively, is something like that is what makes the Postman what it is.
Yes.
So it's like, I do agree, I would have liked that, but...
It would make it more Western.
And it would make... Would it make it better? Probably.
Probably.
But... I can't think of many other movies that do what it did, and it's memorable.
Yeah.
How about the bad guy's second in command who has no tongue? That they set that up. Remember?
I liked that.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I think you said he was your favorite actor, right, in the movie?
Yeah.
Because of just how he's able to do it silently. Because he cut out the guy's tongue, and they're like, "Oh, he's followed him everywhere since." And then
he ends up killing him.
He ends up being the guy that kills him. Eventually.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, actually, my favorite thing about the movie, in addition to some of the little things, I really liked the villain, General Bethlehem. That actor, Will Patton, like, I think he's very underrated. I don't even have his picture. That's sad. On my he's always like a great character actor. He shows up in a lot of things, usually a Southern guy. I think he does a really good job playing this kind of down-to-earth guy who just decided to become a general through really just personal study and his own grit.
And he was with
this other guy.
Some other cult leader
at
the time.
Like the actual guy that I guess warred with people. He like studied under him or something. Yeah. So he's actually not the big bad of the story. He's almost like second fiddle.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell that he's not completely that skilled, really. He just believes in what he was taught. Yeah. So he's kind of... It's a very interesting guy because there's a lot of anger that he portrays subtly, and he's just kind of menacing in a way that seems very believable. I always thought the villain was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because he seems like a person who's not very nice, but somebody could end up being like that, you know?
And how do you like the big dam with the cart ride down?
Oh, the thing where they have to go along. He has to go along that thing where you glide down.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. That was clearly like, we have to have a big action set piece, and we could just go over. I guess it'd be quicker than going on a boat. Like, okay,
or riding the horse back.
Like, all right, it's a cool idea, but it's clearly there just to be more exciting.
It had who was it that was there?
Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Tom Petty was the guy, I guess, and he was playing himself. Yeah, which was kind of cool.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm Tom Petty.
It was so random.
You mean that Tom Petty?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's me.
So Tom Petty is randomly in this movie. Yeah.
Other than that, I think it's a good, corny Western sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I guess post-apocalyptic. I guess it might be too low tech to be sci-fi per se, but it's in that vein. I feel like post-apocalyptic stuff is always far future.
Well, it is It was far future.
Well, the far future of 2013, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, see?
Near future. I think Waterworld was like even sooner, so I don't know. But and they could be in the same universe, we thought.
Yeah.
It could be a descendant. Think there's a connection? Could be.
Who knows? Maybe.
But
have Postman first, and have governments come back, and then all of a sudden, boom, ice caps melt.
Oh, that's sad.
Double whammy.
So, if you could condense it, what is your favorite thing about the Postman? Like, because I feel like it's interesting. Like, I can appreciate your feelings
Bill.
on it, Bill. Oh yeah. Oh, that mule.
Yeah.
That actually might be the saddest thing about that movie is that they do so much with that character of the mule.
And right at the beginning, and
you get a sense of like what he has and what he cares about it, and that was pretty dark. Like
very dark.
They kill his mule and serve it to him.
Yeah,
like
serve him as food to all the recruits.
That was another little thing about it too, was they kind of survival of the fittest and having people forced against each other, that the last person to get to the food wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
So it kind of almost keeps people at each other's throats a little. Like that was my favorite part, was definitely that army, and that I kind of almost wish there was a little more of that. And like I do like the Postman idea, and I agree. I think that there is like this charm and silliness to it, but it's fun, and I could see why maybe some people would have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like it is too corny for people, but if you think of it as like a classic Western, they're all kind of a little corny.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. And I kind of like the idea of the spirit of communication through the Postal Service, in this case, as a thing that brings society together. Kind of makes sense in a low-tech sense. Before, if they didn't have telephones or the internet, I mean, radio, let's get the Postal Service together. Yeah. So I guess I don't know if there was a way they could have made the Postal Service seem more badass, but I don't know. Probably not. But hey, they gave him guns and don't mess with me, pretty much. So, yeah. Well, Gimli, any final thoughts on the Postman?
What other movies has Kevin Costner be in?
Okay, well, let's look. Yeah, that was another thing too, because I feel like those movies together kind of like really stunted his career for a bit.
Yeah.
But he was pretty big before that. Like, I'll tell you some of my favorite movies of his. All right, I don't know some of his earlier ones. We'll scroll through them. Dances with Wolves.
Fields of Dreams.
Fields of Dreams is classic. Untouchables
Robin Hood
is a good one. Okay, Robin Hood is a fun movie, but he gets crap for his accent being non-existent.
Yeah.
You ever see JFK?
I have.
Great movie. I'm trying to think. Bodyguard, I think, is a good one. Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
He was good in that. Waterworld, of course.
Yeah.
Postman. I'm trying to think of ones I've seen. Dragonfly was an interesting movie. It's like about, I think he like hears about his late wife's ghost or something. It's interesting. Open Range is a Western.
Guardian?
The Guardian. Oh, that's the one about with Ashton Kutcher about the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
That's not a bad movie.
Good.
That's not a bad movie. It's kind of underrated. That's right. He was Superman's dad in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
This movie is horrible. That one. He's done more Disney stuff, Hidden Figures. So he's
Highwayman?
That was a new one. I actually want to check that out. That's a Netflix movie.
Yeah.
He's like going after like John Dillinger or something. Yeah. So he's kind of all over the place. He started out doing more dramas, and
back in '81.
And then he kind of started doing bigger epic movies, some more action, and then he's been doing more dramas
late
and
80s,
stuff.
early 90s.
Yeah. So this was kind of like right after his peak. I mean, think about it. He had Untouchables. He had this movie No Way Out, which was good. He had
Field of
Dreams, Dance with Wolves, Robin Hood, JFK, Bodyguard. These were big movies. And then he was coming off of Wyatt Earp, and then he did Waterworld,
and then Postman,
and then
tried to recover.
And there's not really that many. He did 13 Days, which is the JFK movie. Again, but not really any big action movies that I can think of. He tried to do some with this movie, 3 Days to Kill, which wasn't very good. Some Disney stuff.
Yeah.
This movie was terrible. So he's kind of had a rough recent career all over the place, but he
also did, I guess, television too here.
A few.
You know what?
He was Devilance Hatfield.
Oh, yeah.
Hatfields and McCoys was actually an excellent miniseries.
Yes.
And I don't know if people talk about that. So I think he's a good actor with the dramatic stuff.
Yeah.
With action, though, I think it really depends on how you handle it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Were you just kind of curious, like, what else you've seen with him in it that you liked? Or,
yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah, he's been in some good movies. He's a good actor. I feel like it's like he just is one of those guys who sort of peaked high with he Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, he can, I guess, do all these big movies and maybe... Okay. And I also believe... I could be wrong about this. Oh, yeah, okay. Waterworld was partially a passion project of his because he produced it. So I think that was definitely a vehicle of his. And I think The Postman...
He directed
The Postman. So these were movies that I think maybe
were
his
passion
project.
Yeah.
Maybe ego got in the way. Maybe some of the decisions with the story and the cinematography about why it's bloated. I think maybe he had more influence.
Yeah.
Because if I
For
don't,
sure.
Because I'm curious now. I don't think he really directed
Postman and Open Range.
Oh, he directed Open Range. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Which I've heard that movie's good. Yeah, so he hasn't directed too much since then. So I think maybe that was too much responsibility. But I think Kevin Costner's a good actor. I don't have a problem with him.
Yeah.
Like, you ever seen Untouchables?
Yeah.
I love that movie. I mean, that's more of an ensemble because you got Sean Connery and stuff. But like, that's a good crime, the gunfights and stuff. So I don't know. I think with those movies, I think you're right. I think it was pacing. And Waterworld and The Postman also kind of had some tonal issues because you said the dark humor in Waterworld maybe people wouldn't get, and some of the cheesy kind of idealism of Postman maybe didn't work for some people. But I enjoy them. Like, I had a great time with the double feature we did, actually.
Yeah.
Though I will say, doing those two movies back to back as drinking games
that was rough.
I don't know if I would volunteer to do that again.
But then again, we did have some pretty good cheap beer too.
Oh yes! Shout out to Foster's. Lion's Head. Lion's Head. Now Foster's is a big can. Yeah. I had never tried Lion's Head until that. Bringing it back to Drinkable Alchemy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a cheap beer, that was pretty effective.
Yeah. It's local. It's a PA beer.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So that definitely helped. But yeah, no, I like those movies. Yeah. So that's why I was happy to have you talk about them on the podcast. I just felt like those, since we did them together, that would make a good double to talk about, for sure. But yeah, man, that was very impromptu, but I was glad to have you on. It looks like we had a decent little conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like them when they're a good 45 minutes or so.
45 plus.
45
here.
plus. So are you going to be signing off, Gimli? Then there was just dead air.
This is Gimli signing off. And I guess probably Merlin here going to say, stay magical.
Man, you just know. He knows my whole deal. Yeah, been doing it for a while. But yeah, no, everybody, thank you if you watch this or we're listening to it in the background. That's cool. I would still recommend if you like dystopian, post-apocalyptic stuff. I think that Waterworld and Postman could be worth checking out. And Gimli loves them, and I enjoy them quite a bit. I had fun watching them, and I'd like to have you on again at some point to talk about some of your other movies. I remember there's some big war movies like Gettysburg and Glory, The Patriot, Blues Brothers. Yeah, would be cool to talk about.
Still need to do that.
So yeah, I'm trying to get like other people's favorite movies that I might not necessarily feel like making a video about because I don't like them as much, but I still want to hear people talk about them.
Isn't that how you sort of started the flamethrower one? Little series?
Yeah, that the flamethrower thing.
Blues Brothers?
I didn't start it with Blues Brothers, though you suggested it, and that's the cool thing about it. It was Troll suggested just doing, hey, you should do a thing about flamethrowers in movies and cinema or whatever, and he thought I was just going to do my standard, like, kind of more analytical script, but I was like, I'm going to make this more comical, and so I decided to do a character, and it was just fun. And the cool thing about it with, like, Blues Brothers is I'm finding all these random movies, B movies or big movies, and sometimes I'll watch a movie and I don't know it has a flamethrower. I'm like, oh well, I guess this is in the show now. So it's just weird. It's a weird little thing about how many movies have flamethrowers in them. So I got to do a few more of those though, because I've been slacking off a bit on those. But that is them. And Jolo's movies is just, I just want to go back and talk about movies that I like and
or maybe not so liked, but still watch.
Still want to watch, and like, because I love movies so much in general. It's just, I like the conversations, and it's good, and I like to hear what other people love about movies too. So I don't know. I thought this was just worth doing. So that's why we got the list. And I'll tell you what, I'm probably going to make a video for it at some point, but I would like to get you on a podcast talking about Star Trek 4.
Okay.
Because I know that's your favorite.
Yeah.
So that might get an actual video and a podcast too.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that one might the double treatment. So down the line, but we'll get to it at some point. But yes, as you predicted, Gimli, everybody, thank you for listening. Stay magical.